upset that they were out with everything. She wasn't very happy. She actually made chili a few weeks ago, and then he was out. He was eating, he was like, this is really
Neighbor's
different.
chili?
No, a hamburger.
Oh.
And I was like, what did you do different? And that was it.
Okay, we're streaming.
Screaming, who was screaming at?
Out there for the new rules.
You ready to roll? All right, 7 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. You got an agenda in front of you. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Actually, I have several changes. In the consent agenda, we need to remove Jackie Younger
Okay.
as one of the listed substitutes. We need to add Landon Rogers as a substitute. We need to add the resignation for Sherry Owens.
Do we have a copy of that?
Okay, Mandy has it. And then also in the check register, we need to delete check number 30185. And that was a duplicate, that was to Van Buren Schools, so we're gonna go ahead and cancel that check this month, and then we'll bring it back and have the board approve it next month. And then the only other item, I'm not sure this is necessarily changed to the agenda, but it's down on item 5E, FEMA pre-disaster mitigation safe room application. I'm sorry, take it down to 6C. That's the action item on the FEMA. It needs to be approved FEMA pre-disaster safe room application and match resolution. It's item 6C. Just add match resolution. And they're not necessarily a change, but each of you should have, I think, have in front of you an updated version of the elementary administrative report. And that's all the changes I have.
Are there any questions over the consent agenda items?
Who was resigned?
Sherry Owens, middle school teacher. That's a retirement too, by the way.
She will be missed.
Yep.
What's that?
She will be missed. Any questions? Not, I receive a motion to approve as presented with said changes.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Very good.
So you know, he's always like 2 seconds behind.
Even when he's here.
Can you get rid of Howard?
I'm getting a lot of abuse tonight, I can tell.
All right, administrative reports. Marty, you're first in line here.
All right. Well, we're healthier in the high school. We have currently 9 students on quarantine. 9, which I've always, who would have thought that would have been such a victory? But single-digit students on quarantine is great, and we have 1 staff member that's currently out. We had some professional development last week, and it was good to get back to the focus of what our academic goals were for the year. We feel like now we can actually start talking about educational issues and goals that we want to set academically. So that was a good day to kind of refocus after we feel like we've, certainly COVID's still there and it's going to be around, but we can get back to focusing on some academics. Our distance learners have switched over as the other buildings to Edmonton, or at least us and half of the middle school are Edmonton. Mrs. Hutzel in the high school is kind of taking the reins on that, doing that with her alternative school as well, and keeping track of all of our kids on Edmonton. But her and Mr. Wagner have done a very good job with that, what was kind of a rush transition to get them from one system to the other. So they did a really nice job on that. We had student-led conferences a couple weeks ago. Over half of our parents participated, and during the COVID year, I think that's pretty good. That's when we did parent-teacher conferences 2 years ago. We switched to student-led last year and got about 60 to 70% participation. That was up from about 15 to 20% we've had in the high school for years when it was just parent-teacher conference. So this has proven to be much more engaging for parents and students, and for the most part, I think it was a good experience for everyone. And then some sports highlights from the last month. McKenna Cox and Taylor Reese I'm sure you saw their picture on the front page of the paper. They were third in Class 1 in doubles tennis in the state. That's the highest finish in program history for any team. So that was quite a historic accomplishment. Dr. Cox has their career totals, but their career totals, I believe, were tied for third best for a doubles team in the state. It's like 78 and 14 or something like that. It was a really high percentage. So great way to cap off their career. Our volleyball team was a district runner-up to a very good Liberty team, and that was the first year for Coach Collins. And then in cross country, just last week, Bethany Wagner, our junior, she was second at districts and then took 50th at a really good crowded state meet. So Bethany did a nice job, and our fall sports are now finished, and we'll look to basketball.
One quick question, Marty.
Sure.
This virtual choir in
Yeah.
Mandel, what's the deal with the virtual not being live or open to the public?
Well, we're not having any concerts this semester because of COVID and getting everybody crowded into the gym. So Mr. Haji's elected for a virtual concert. He's going to film them. I think he's going to put it out live that day for the school. The whole district can tune in and watch it live, and then it'll also be up on YouTube for everybody to watch.
Was that his choice or school?
That was a district-wide
District choice.
decision.
How's that work out with ball games versus some of that nature? Where's the difference?
How do you
in
do
this?
one versus not the other?
Right.
I think what the biggest thing about our concerts, especially our elementary ones, that they're really heavily attended. I mean, even more so than basketball games. And it's much easier to control that. Can't really cancel basketball season. So we're just going to try to continue to work through that. Plus, basketball and sports are kind of voluntary, whereas classes in choir and music and all that, that's a class that the kids are involved in. And so we control that. We can still do that. We just won't be able to do it where we have that many people together. There's just too many in a confined area.
That's all I had.
Any other questions for Marty? Thank you. Tina?
Okay, well, we kind of switched places with the high school, and I think our building wins the prize for most students quarantined. Last week, we were up to 74 at one point, I think, but this week we're down, and we're getting a few back each day. I think today we were in the high 50s, and we get 11 back tomorrow. Currently, I have 4 staff members out on quarantine, so we are getting by with a lot of good help. Everybody's just staying really flexible and pitching in where we're needed. I gave you our distance learning numbers. Those have changed a little bit. They tend to fluctuate up and down, but according to the week, I had 5 new students in the building today, all in one day. 2 of them were coming back from homeschool, and then 3 of them were new students. So currently we have 27 distance learners who are doing Edmonton or Acellus. I gave you the numbers. There's 1 more in 6th grade since I did this report, so I've got 6 in 6th grade. Still have 5 on launch. My 3 from the middle school are doing very well, that they're good students wherever they are, and they have strong parental support. And then we have 5 students who are on homebound, either for IEP reasons or medical reasons or some behavioral issues. But so we have several students out if you add all of those up. Our student-led conferences were very well attended, and lots of positive feedback from the staff on that. Almost everybody I talked to had a story about how one of the students surprised them during conferences, about how, you know, this student usually doesn't like to talk much, but well, you sat her down with her parents, and you know, she really tended to shine, and how much the parents enjoyed hearing from the students about how the student thought they were doing, and how brutally honest some of the students were about themselves, and, you know, what's the problem here? Well, I could try a little harder. I could have, you know, I've been absent a lot, or something like that. So lots of really good feedback on that, and we do plan to continue that format again for next year. It was good. We made a list of things we want to tweak a little bit, but for the most part, thanks to the high school piloting it last year in the elementary, and we just kind of followed suit, and several of my teachers did some research and put together good documents for everybody to use, and the staff just did a really good job getting the students ready for it. I think everybody felt really prepared. Every month, related to the Character Strong program, which you're going to hear about here in a few minutes, we have Bear Paw winners, so you can give a student a Bear Paw when you see them doing something above and beyond. And then we have a drawing every month for Terry Newton gives us a $50 gift card for one of those students every month. And this, for October, it was Dakota Mitchell, which he's one of our 6th graders and always has a smile on his face. We had a good PD day on November 2nd. We had Character Strong training all morning, and then in the afternoon, the teachers met in vertical teams by department, discussed how their first quarter grades kind of shook out, talked about MAP testing, and as far as we know, I haven't heard any differently from the state that we are probably going to do it this year. iReady results, I'd broken down our reading and math results, and they had a look at those, and talked a little bit about curriculum pacing and where are we versus where we need to be. We have lots of things going on. The teachers are all doing a book study in their grade level PLCs. They do a couple of short chapters a month out of a book called The Artisan Teacher, which is right now, it's part of the Missouri Leadership Development System training for principals, and it's used all over the United States. Mike Rutherford goes all over the United States training and talking on it, and the chapters are a couple pages long, and it's all about teaching things, practical things you use in your classroom every day, and so they're going through a couple of those a month. We're getting ready to do peer coaching, which is a district-wide initiative. The high school's been doing some of that, and our math department piloted some last year, so we're getting ready to join in that. 5th grade science and math, have been doing some EMINTS training, which is the program that we joined through the University of Missouri at Columbia, and we will be eventually getting Chromebooks for those 2 classrooms as part of that. And then we've got math consultants coming in, and then we have a consultant coming in to give our new teachers some extra support. It's hard to be a first-year teacher, and this year is a hard year for any teacher, so we're just trying to give them a little extra support, a different set of eyes in the classroom that can come in and just give them some practical hands-on tips. I feel like I just talked a whole lot.
Yeah, a lot going on.
Yeah, we do, we really do. We're the middle school, there's always lots going on, so.
Are there any questions? All right, thank you. Marlena?
We're not as exciting as the news data as everyone else is hearing, but for special ed, right now we're serving 236 special ed students. Of those, 17 are participating in our distance learning option. In addition, we have 26 quarantine, that's counting the numbers in the building, but 26 of the quarantine students are special ed students that we're providing services for. We currently have 24 students who are receiving some classroom accommodations and supports under Section 504. And we submitted today, actually, our list to MSBA on our local tax effort students, our foster students, and students who are in our, like Ozark Trails, our privately, parentally placed facility that's in our district. And we have submitted 33 names for that we're hoping to be able to collect our local tax effort revenues from those sending districts. I don't think that it had been something that had been followed through on in the past, and so we're trying to recoup some of that money. We will have to go back and research last year's information. They're going to let us back bill for last year as well, so hopefully we can recoup some of those funds from last year as well. So we submitted those names today. But that's about all we have going on in the special ed world.
Any questions? Thank you. Did Bobby send anything, or?
What's that?
Did Bobby send anything?
Yeah, I have his report, it's in your packet, and actually, there's an updated report in front of you that he amended. He's gonna be here this evening, but you can review that. If you have any questions, certainly email me for sure. Then the only other item I have, just as an update, as of today, I know the building principals each talked about how many students were out, but as of today, we have 110 students who are quarantined. 22 students will be returning tomorrow. And then we currently have 11 staff out on quarantine, so the numbers are not unusually high. So that's where we are right now. And a lot of those kids will be getting back this week, so.
Very good. We'll move on to the middle school teachers. Want to talk about Character Strong?
All right.
Hold on just a second here. Gotta get Colin corrected here.
I can see good, I can see well.
Well, can you see the PowerPoint though? I'm pulling up a
Yes.
PowerPoint. You got it now?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, let me start this here. Okay, go on.
All right. Well, thank you for having us this evening. I am Heather Miller, and I teach 6th grade. And this is Mrs. Leah. She teaches 7th grade, and we're going to talk to you about Character Strong. So our objectives for this presentation include an introduction to Character Strong, an example of a classroom lesson, the effects that it has on student behavior, and extensions of Character Strong that are being planned for our building. So what is Character Strong? Character Strong is a program that combines social emotional learning with character development to emphasize the whole child. The curriculum is available in a complete online platform. This gives teachers a powerful tool to teach students and facilitate meaningful experiences in a student-friendly way. The focus includes growth mindset, resilience, kindness, mindfulness, empathy, and many more. The curriculum is divided into lessons according to a list of 8 essential character qualities, and you can see those here on the screen now. Kindness, humility, respect, honesty, commitment, selflessness, patience, and forgiveness. And so we want to show just a very short video that comes from the actual Character Strong website and their curriculum that really focuses on these 8 essentials.
Okay. Now, is that the one that we opened up earlier, I think?
It is, yes,
Let's
sir.
see, which one is it that one?
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
One of the biggest components of our curriculum are the 8 essentials. In his book, The Servant, by James Hunter, he first came up with this concept of the 8 essentials, which is patience, kindness, humility, respect, selflessness, forgiveness, honesty, and commitment. Or pink kittens have red socks for Halloween costumes. The 8 essentials are really just character in action. What does it look like to actually choose character in your life? A lot of people, when they think of character, they associate it with resiliency or grit or integrity and think that has a lot to do with it. But when we think of people of character in our personal lives, a lot of times we think of people who are also kind, giving, respectful, honest, patient. In our middle school curriculum, we focus on 6 of the 8 essentials, and in our high school curriculum, we focus on all 8 of the 8 essentials. Each year, we'll focus on 2 specific essentials, and throughout that year, the way that we focus on them is a series of lessons that A, gives students a shared definition or understanding of the concept, B, creates meaningful conversation, C, gives them experiences to help them apply their learning, and D, perhaps most important, throughout that whole chunk of time, we're giving them practical ways to be reminded and exercises of what these things look like daily or weekly in their lives. So that's why we have 8 essentials, to help young people practice and understand character.
Get back to the PowerPoint.
Yes. All right, now we are going to take a look at a lesson that students would see in our classes when we are working with them during our advisory time.
I think we already pulled that one up too, didn't we? Was that the other one? Up there?
Yes.
So this is what a lesson would look like on gratitude. And it goes through several objectives for the students. And we would go through these with them. And when you get through with that, it comes to relationship building. Oops. Stop there.
Pausing it.
Can you go back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell me where, tell me
Okay.
where to
Yeah,
stop.
right there.
Okay.
Good work.
It kind of just automatically goes, I think.
Oh, is it going?
Yeah,
Oh.
I don't know how to stop it. I'm trying to. Where do you pause it
On
at?
the little play button.
And that gets it going.
These are the relationship building, and this one right here is a get to know you. And so when we click on that, there are several, if you can click on this one right here. All of these are different fill in the blank, get to know you things that you can do with the students. If you click on this one, because
Which one?
we like it.
Thumbs
That
up.
one?
The thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Do I want,
Yeah.
do you pass this out?
So we're gonna
It's kind of like,
hand this out to you. This would be something that we would give to the students, and they would take a few minutes, fill this out. When the students come to us at first, they're very reluctant, kind of, because they don't know each other. I had a student that was brand new to the district this year, and so, at first we have them fill this out, and if you could take a few minutes and just fill this out for us real quick.
Yeah, a lot of times students need just an icebreaker, just something to get them talking with each other, something to get them sharing ideas, so that they feel more comfortable in the group setting that they're in during advisory.
Some of our kids have been with each other since before preschool. Some are brand new to the district and know barely their own name. So then we would ask someone, is there anyone that would like to share theirs?
Do what?
Oh man, somebody always wants to volunteer someone else, don't they? Don't they always want to do that?
I graduated, well, I'm a little slow reading here.
Well, that's okay, I teach math, so I like that.
And some students feel comfortable just answering part of this, and they may not want to answer everything on the fill in the blank, which is fine too. There's no pressure.
At the beginning, I had one student that didn't want to read it out loud. She just wanted to bring it to me and let me read it so that I could get to know her, but she didn't feel comfortable reading it out loud. And, I mean, we're a quarter in, and now they just all read it out loud, or they talk to each other about it. I mean, it's so fun to watch them just, get to know each other and feel very comfortable, because different activities, they pair up, and it'll be like, okay, today you're pairing up with someone with the same eye color, or the same shirt color, or the same shoe brand, or whatever. And so you're pairing up with different people every day. So that would be something that we would do in that, because relationships are the cornerstone of connecting with our students and helping them build their character. So, if you want to click on this right here.
Okay, so if you look at our menu here, at the very bottom, if you'll click the picture of the brain, this will take us to kind of the main topic. It helps us define what some of these terms mean. It helps give research to back up, the concept that we're trying to teach about in the classroom. So go ahead and click on the screen. So we're going to talk about why is it important? Why is it important to show gratitude? Most research would tell you that practicing gratitude is scientifically good for you. So here are 5 things that science tells us. Go ahead and click. Number 1, it helps your relationships improve. Number 2, it can make you more productive. 3, it helps you sleep better. 4, it makes your heart healthier. And 5, it helps you deal with stress better. I would say right now, everybody has definitely some stress in their life and can relate to probably all of those 5, even our students. And so this is a really important concept that is backed by scientific research to show the students, why is this important for them to be learning about this. Along with the research, they usually have 3 different activities that we would participate in and help the students through during the week. And we're not going to go through those 3 today, but there's other activities that reinforce these concepts. Now if you'll click on the weight. This is what's called a character dare. And so every lesson that we teach with Character Strong would have a dare that goes with it. So this one's called Rosebud and Thorn. So it says, try writing down somewhere this week your day's roses, buds, and thorns. A rose would be something that is meaningful to you right now. A bud is something that is coming in the future that you're excited about, and a thorn is something you're struggling with. See if you can use this strategy in a conversation with a friend this week. So this encourages our students to take this further, take this outside of the classroom, take it to their homes, take it to the community, and practice these character building ideas. Now, along with student dares, there's also staff dares, which are sent to our staff each week. There's a different dare that we ask them to participate in. And then there's also family dares. So this program is, very extensive as far as trying to reach out to the student, the administration and staff, and to the families. All right, I think we're ready for the presentation again. And the next slide. Here we go.
Oops.
All right.
It's moving on its own.
Okay. In addition to the Character Strong in the classroom, we're always looking to see if they're using the character building outside of the classroom, in the hallways, or more than just in the advisory classroom. And on the playgrounds, wherever we see the kids, even if it's not our own students, if it's in different grades. And so we're looking to give bear paws whenever we see them going above and beyond what they should be doing anyway. And as to this day, from August to October, we've given out 140 bear paws. And Shelter Insurance agent Terry Newton has been very kind to give, I believe it's $50 a month as a drawing. When the student gets the bear paw, they can take part of it home and show their parents and celebrate that at home. But they also take a part of that to Mrs. Cottingham, and she goes into the prize closet, and they get an immediate prize, but then they also go into that drawing for the $50 gift at the end of the month.
And this is what our bear paws look like. So I brought a few of those with us. You want to take one and pass it down?
What's the cash value?
Well,
What time can I show up tomorrow?
Pat on the back.
You can get a ring pop if you go see
Yeah.
Hey,
There you go.
so
There
this
may
is,
be full-size candy bars.
You never know.
Hey,
Hey, there you go.
there you go.
this is very exciting for our students. When they unexpectedly would have a teacher bring this to them and say, we really liked what you did, and we saw that, you showed great character in, whatever the activity was that, they received this for. But this is what the student gets. And so, as Mrs. Leah said, part of this would go to Mrs. Cottingham. It would be put in the drawing for that $50 gift card each month. Do you have anything more on that? Okay, our next slide. Oops. All right, here is a slide that shows character in action. So we just have a few photos of some things that have been happening around our building with our students. And so we see 5th graders in this picture picking up trash and trying to help clean up our playground with some of the litter that they found there. We have a hand over in the right-hand corner that has some goal setting on there from students that were working on goals for in the classroom and outside of the classroom goals. We have a recycle program from our 6th grade advisory that they were very excited and eager to participate in. And then we had several weeks where we were writing notes and sending letters of kindness to our custodians was the focus of one of our kindness acts. And then just students in general, and you can see the lockers with the little sticky notes on there. And the students were really excited to get those when they saw that on their locker in the hallway.
There are plans in action to start a Check and Connect program, not with just staff members, with a student, but also some of our high school students, with some of our middle school students as well. So the upperclassmen would be paired up with a middle school student to check and connect with them, check in on them, make sure that they're keeping their grades up and doing what they should be doing. And I know that those middle school kids and younger kids, they like when those older boys are holding the doors open for them in the mornings and things like that. So I think that'll be good for both sets, the older kids and the younger ones.
All right, our goal with this program is to help our students develop good social-emotional skills that have been proven to help us be productive, empathetic, and successful people. Everyone needs to work on character building. So this program does extend way past just our students. We will be working together to build a school culture that shows kindness and compassion to others. And so Mrs. White has prepared a little kindness candy bar for each of you, just as a token of kindness.
For your service.
Yes, for what you do.
The size of that purse, you should have enough.
I should.
Thank you. Coach Colley, you want me to bring you yours?
Oh, there you go.
I'll take yours.
Yeah, I'm back at it.
Now, we thank you for letting us come. Did you have any questions for us this evening?
This is the first year for this program, is that
Yes,
correct?
this is new.
And where did we come up with this program? How did we find it?
Mrs. Cottingham was the one who introduced it to us, and I'm not sure where she had learned about it.
Okay.
We did quite a bit of research last year because we knew we needed a character education component and we wanted to put the advisory time in. And we looked at several programs, and this was a middle school specific program, so many of them are either elementary or there's very few high school actually, but most of them are elementary based. And then we looked for something we could afford. There are other programs out there, but they're pretty pricey, and this one was something that we felt met all of our needs. And we were also looking for something that was not going to be a huge amount of preparation for the teachers. As you can see, everything on there, the lessons are there. All they have to do is kind of pick the one they want to do that day. So.
You say they have a elementary program as well?
Yes, we
Version?
use it for our 5th graders.
Okay.
It's
Purposeful.
right.
Yeah.
Mrs. White could.
It's very similar.
It is. It's the same company.
Same concept.
Yeah, it's a K-5 program, and then this is a
Okay.
6
through 8.
Yeah, 6 8.
When you say advisory, that's not their free time, but that's the hour in their day.
It's, actually, it is 18 minutes. Yes, we're very closely timed at the middle school because we kind of have to go fast all day. But we had it built in around lunch and recess. We shaved a few minutes from lunch, shaved a few minutes from recess, managed to scrunch some time in the middle and scrape up almost 20 minutes of time. And it's about the right amount of time, I think. We do this at least 4 days a week, and then 1 day a week they can opt for, like they could have a makeup work day, or I know 5th and 6th grade does ticket time, so it gives them a little bit of leeway there.
Sounds interesting.
I got a question. Is that what we've seen right there? Is that what you guys see, or do the kids have access to that? Are you just printing lessons out to them, or the actual computer program thing that you
We
showed
show
us?
them the slides.
Yeah, we don't print anything. We have the slides that we can pull up and show them, but, I mean, we would print off things like that for them to write on, but the kids don't have access to it. We would just pull up the slides and show them.
Have you found that, like, say in the gratitude or whatever section you're going through, has it affected any students? Have you seen the benefits of it with students that maybe struggle in those areas, or is it?
If I see somebody that's being disrespectful or something and we just focused on that, or I know that the 7th grade just went over, like, I'll be like, haven't we talked about, or hasn't your, advisory talked about respectful? And then, oh yeah,
So
and stuff. And so we can refer back to that and it jogs their memory back, and so it gives us another tool to kind of help them in case they're not sure what they're doing.
Okay.
And if you don't care if I add, there are also lessons that we can print lots of things off. What you saw tonight is their 2020 version, so it can reach virtual students all over the country. But there are goal-setting lessons, worksheets. There are videos that you can show about the essentials, and then there are reflection worksheets. A lot of times in 8th grade, we'll project them and they'll just write it on notebook paper or whatever, but there's all kinds of stuff. It's really amazing.
There's a whole
You guys
website.
like it then?
We do,
Yes.
we do.
It's a good tool to use, because some students are like, I'm not being rude, or I'm not being, and I'm like, wrong definition.
It's really, it's kind of permeating, and we're hoping that, as we see our 5th graders who are new to it this year go up through 8th grade, that we'll really see those results in years 3 and 4. But even when I get the staff dares during the week, the staff dare might be, tell 5 people around you something that you're grateful for that they've done this week. It just makes you take a minute and think, okay, and, find those 5 people. And then we put a family dare, and I put it in the newsletter every month. Tracy sends it to me, and we put it in the newsletter every month that families can participate in. So just trying to keep it in front of them all the time. That's the way you have, you just keep it in front of everybody. So.
Makes the kids think too.
Mhm.
Really
It
does.
does.
Well,
Really
and
good.
makes me think.
Right.
Me too, me too.
Yes.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, ladies.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you.
You can stay for the audit if you want to.
So then you get King.
Jamie, did you get one of these?
No, we're good. Thank you.
Thursday, ladies, you can-
All right. Time of year I wait for.
Is it?
Kenny, you're up.
Me? Right.
He thought he's really
And Brent, you don't have the audit in front of you, we just got them here this evening, so can you just follow along, or?
I'm sure I can make it through.
Hey, if you have questions now, you're gonna stop me and ask, right?
I have lots of them already.
All right. That's what I like to hear. Somebody wants to get involved in this. Okay, what you have there in front of you is Wolf Springs School District financial statements for the year ended June 30th, 2020, and our auditor's report on those financial statements. What I'm gonna do is go over some of the information with you. If you got questions, you're welcome to stop me at any point in time. I'm gonna start on page 1, which is actually the 3rd page immediately after the table of contents. That's the first of the auditor's report. It's broken down into sections. You'll notice the top section up there says the report. That tells you what this report covers. This is our report on your financial statements. Second section tells you about management's responsibility for financial statements, and the 3rd section tells you about the auditor's responsibility in auditing. You'll flip the page 1 more time. In the middle of that page, you see a section called opinion. That is our opinion on the financial statements. It says, in our opinion, based on the audit and the report of other auditors, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position, modified cash basis, and governmental activities in each major fund of Wolf Springs School District as of June 30th, and the respective changes in financial position. Basically, what we're telling you there is we feel that the financial statements we put together from your information are correct. We do mention the report of other auditors. There is one part of this document that's audited by other auditors, and that's the retirement footnote in the back here. It is audited by the auditors of the retirement system, and then they send us that information and we put it into your financial statements. The next section there, basis of accounting, it tells you that what that tells you is your modified cash basis. What that means, in the financial statements, you're not going to see the cost of your buildings or the cost of your buses or the cost of your equipment as assets. You will see those as expenses. You'll see them recorded as expenses when you buy them, not capitalized as an asset. You're also not going to see the amount of money that you owe on your lease purchase as a liability in the financial statements. Whenever you make a payment on it, you recognize the payment as an expense under cash and modified cash basis. So with the statement of net position, which is kind of similar to a balance sheet, you're going to see cash and investments and fund balance or net position. That in the statement of activities, you're going to see revenues and expenses, and part of those expenses are going to be payments made on your lease purchases and payments for equipment and stuff like that, rather than being capitalized as assets or recognized as expenses at the time they're incurred. Almost all school districts are either cash or modified cash. The reason you're modified cash is because you have investments. You're not pure cash. You have a block of principal financial stock that you own, which makes you modified cash. Only the school districts such as Kansas City or St. Louis or Jeff City or probably Springfield, there would be accrual basis, which is a basis where you'd see the assets and liabilities in the financial statements. So I'm going to page 4, which is the next to the auditor's reports. It's called a report on internal control over financial reporting, compliance, and other matters. It's a 2-part report. The first part is a report on internal control over financial reporting. The important part of that is the last sentence on this page. It says, we identified a deficiency in internal control we consider to be a material weakness, and it's described in the accompanying schedule of finding question costs, references 2020-1 on page 6. Before we go to that, flip one page further and we'll go to the second part of this report. Top of the page, it's a report on compliance and other matters. The important part of that is the last sentence of that first paragraph. It says the results of our tests disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters required to be reported under government auditing standards. Now if you'll flip to page 6, I'll tell you about the internal control issue. Very close to the bottom of the page, you see finding 2020-1 internal control. The accounting function lacks segregation duties and responsibilities of payroll, expenditure, receipts, and reporting cycles. Bookkeepers' responsibilities include recording and reporting of financial data. Question cost, we don't know that there is any question cost, so it says unknown there. Flip the page one page further. The effect is it increases the risk that if something goes wrong, you don't detect it and correct it timely. You don't, you rely on the auditor to find those things when in theory you should be finding, if you have a problem, you need to find it and correct it fast. The cause is you don't have enough people in your accounting function to provide segregation of duties for effective internal controls. The recommendation is management should routinely review accounting and financial data to provide additional safeguards, and you should always evaluate implementing additional segregation of duties. What I'm telling you here is, for instance, in your payroll system, Mandy has the ability to add people to the payroll system. She has the ability to take people away. She has the ability to go in and she basically puts in all their input screens, puts her amount of pay in, puts their deductions in, and then she also runs the payroll system. You would have that split up between, typically you would have an accounting manager or something, or somebody in charge of the accounting department that would put in all the employee stuff, and then you'd have somebody else that would run the payroll system. In the bill paying side, the same person has the ability to add vendors to the system and take away vendors that's the same person that runs the bill paying side. So there again, those two things would be split up. In the receipt side or the income side, you've got the same person recording revenues as reconciles bank statement. That would be split up. So, I don't have, let's see, No, I don't have any school district that doesn't have that finding. It's not to tell you that it's, not trying to minimize it or anything, I'm just telling you that it's really common. And you'll probably never get rid of it. It would take 3 people. You have 2. It would take a minimum of 3 people in your accounting department before you can get rid of it. Okay? What I'm telling you back there in the, in my recommendation is you know, Mr. Hall, he monitors it on a daily or weekly basis, and when they bring the information in for you guys in here to the board meeting, if you got questions, you need to ask. If you see something you don't understand, you need to ask. I mean, whenever they bring you the list of the bills and all that stuff, look at them and, you know, ask questions. That's your job on a monthly basis. Page 8. Page 8's a statement of net position. That's the one I told you, kind of similar to a balance sheet. Top section's assets. You see pool cash up there, $3,491,000. That's how much you have in checking. Non-pool investments, $102,000. That's the 2,449 shares of principal financial stock that you own. That's the fair market value of it. Down below in net position, you'll see you have $10,000 restricted for student scholarships. You got $9,000 in STEM grant proceeds that you received that hasn't been spent. And you've got $3,573,000 unrestricted. Page 9. Statement of activities, similar to a profit and loss statement, somewhat similar, not really, but somewhat similar. First column on the right, on the left, on the top up there, this is the amount of money that you spent in each of those functions. In instruction, you spent $7,603,000. Student services, $890,000. Building admin, $665,000. Operation of plant, $1,123,000. Transportation, $649,000. Food service, $639,000. You paid off $275,000 of debt. Paid $37,000 of interest. In total, you spent $13,274,000 last year. Next column to the right is income that was generated in those functions. Instruction, you see $416,000 there. That includes $145,000 of tuition from other districts and $270,000 of student activity money, ball game receipts, fundraisers, that kind of thing. Down in the food service, you see $66,000. That's the local lunch and breakfast receipts from students and staff. That's the money you collected locally for the $66,000. The next column, operating grants and contributions and capital grants. That's state and federal monies that you received, and also contributions that you received that was spent in each of those functions. So the first column was expenses, the next 3 columns revenues, and the far column on the right over there is the difference between the revenues and the expenses for each one. And you'll notice if you scan down that column, every one of those has brackets on it, which means the expenses exceeded the revenues in every function. So you have to have general receipts, which is the middle section down here. Those are the ones that are not tied to anything. That's the money that you use to fill in all the holes. Property taxes, $2,115,000. Sales tax, $1,412,000. Basic formula state money, $5,948,000. Basic formula classroom trust money, $395,000. Those are all what's called general receipts. They're not, you spend them wherever you need it. Third number from the bottom, if you were in business, that'd be your profit or loss for the year. It says decrease in net position. What that means is your expenses were $373,000 more than your revenues were last year. You actually you went down in net position by $373,000. The next number, the second one on the bottom, is what you started the year with, $3,965,000, and the bottom one's what you ended the year with, $3,592,000. Questions on that? Page 10. Page 10 tells you, breaks it down by fund. It tells you how much balance or how much you have in each fund at the end of the year. The general fund, $3,023,000. In the teachers fund, you got $46,000, and in the capital projects fund, you got $523,000. Now, your unrestricted reserve is $3,049,000, which is the total of the unassigned in the general and the assigned in the teachers, $3 million. That's your unrestricted reserve. That's 24.44% of last year's operating expenses. So which in essence means you could run 3 months without receiving any revenue. You're 25%.
That's the goal that we have at 20. It was like 19.7, 3 or 4 years ago, we're up to 24.
Most school districts, I say, I did, I was at Greenfield the other night, and they were 25 or 26, so it's not uncommon, in the 20 range is pretty common nowadays. It used to be that it was down closer to 10 or 12, but up in the low to mid-20s is really common, making sure you're financially sound.
That's when when we first entered the COVID, and then everything started shutting down. And then we started getting some withholdings from the state. Primarily, they were basically saying rely on the reserves to get through.
Yep.
Since that time, the revenue started to come back on the state side, so we're kind of hoping that the governor's going to reinstate those withholdings, but we'll see what happens.
Page 11. Page 11 is called a statement of modified cash-based receipts and disbursements, changes in fund balance. Breaks it down by fund. What it does is takes your revenue and your expenses and breaks them down by fund. There again, you got the general fund, the teacher's fund, and the capital projects fund. Top section is your revenue section, middle section is your expense section. Fourth number from the bottom tells you how each fund did last year. You'll notice the general fund was positive by $943,000. The teacher's fund was negative by $695,000, and the capital projects fund was negative by $621,000. When you net all those together, it comes back to your decrease in net position, that $373,000. Next number down is what you started the year with, and then the next number down is transfers, and then the bottom number is comes back to what you have at the end of the year in each fund. $3,023,000 in the general, $46,000 in the teachers, and $523,000 in the capital projects. 16, page 16. Page 16 is going to tell you a little bit about, I told you those financial statements don't tell you anything about the money you owe, but right here's where you go to look, see how much money you owe. There in the middle of the page, capital leases. You actually got 3 capital leases that are outstanding. You got into one in 2013, it was a 10-year lease. It was to, $2,520,000, and part of it was used to repay an energy cost saving contract, part of it was used to repay another lease, and then there was $2,067,000 that was for new construction at that time. The interest rate on that lease right now is 3 to 3.4%. That's on what's left outstanding. You also have a 3-year lease in 2018. You got to purchase some buses. So that one's probably paid off.
Yes, it's paid. We made the last payment last year.
I was gonna say, yeah. The interest rate on that was 2.25%, and then in 2020 you got a 5-year lease for LED, I assume LED lighting. That's an LED lighting project. $221,000. The interest rate on that's 2.25%. That schedule just below there shows you how much principal and interest that you're going to pay, and those right there will pay. All of those will be paid off by 2025. You're going to pay $370,000 in principal. That's what you're going to pay in 21, and you're going to pay $32,000 interest. But that schedule tells you how it pays off. Page 17, top of the page up there, that schedule. If you look at it, it tells you. It basically gives you the summary of your lease purchases, how much you get. You started, for instance, on the school building lease purchase. You started the year with $1,115,000 owing. You paid $275,000. You got you still owe $840, and you got $270 is due 20, and it does basically the same thing for each of those leases. Tells you what you started with, how much you paid, and what the balance is, and what's due in the next year. In total lease purchases, balance at the end of the year $1,120,000 outstanding. That's your debt. Just below that, see a section called legal bond debt margin. That's what I would refer to as your bonding capacity. You don't have any bonds outstanding, but if you decided to issue some bonds and took it to the voters and they approved, this is your maximum amount of bonding leverage that you have. $11,776,000. That's based on 15% of the assessed valuation of the district. Page 17. Middle of the page there, assessed valuation. Assessed valuation of your property owner's property, not school district property. Residential, $37,094,000, up $2,250,000 last year. Agricultural, $2,795,000, was down $113,000. Commercial, $13,258,000, was up $171,000. Personal, $25,359,000, was up $2,021,000. In total, $78,506,000, up $4,334,000, or 5.84% of that. Is that all growth, or is part of that reassessment?
No, that's growth. Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, we've had a lot of stuff going on around here last
The big increases is, of course, residential and personal property. Personal property, that's not uncommon. That's a large increase in residential right there. It's fantastic. Almost 6% increase in assessed valuation. Property tax levy rate, $2.75 per $100 of assessed valuation. That is the smallest property tax levy rate that you can have, a school district can have in the state of Missouri. That's the minimum. Page 19. 19, retirement systems. District participates in 2 retirement systems. One's a public school retirement system. That's the one that the teachers and administrators belong to. They put in 14.5% of their pay and benefits. The district matches that with 14.5%. The employees that are not teachers, administrators, they belong to the public education employees retirement system. They put in 6.86% of their pay, and the district matches that also. You'll look over on page 21. Single sentence near the top up there, just below the first paragraph, tells you how much money your matching portion was last year. Public school retirement system, $936,000 was the matching portion. And the teachers and administrators would also put $936,000 in. Public education employees retirement system, the matching portion was $124,000. Just below that, you see pension liability and pension expense. If you were accrual-based financial statements, this is a liability that you would have to put in your financial statements. It's called your unrecorded pension liability, which is actually the unfunded portion of the pension liability with the public school retirement system and public education employees retirement system. Your portion for the public school retirement system is $9,970,000, and your portion for the public education employees retirement system is $808,000, for a total of $10,779,000. That's your portion of the unfunded liability. That actually went down $122,000 in prior year. Down below in the next section there, risk management, you belong to Missouri United School Insurance Council. They provide you with property, casualty, liability, and workman's comp coverage. Your premium for that for 2020 is $163,000. It was down $14,000 from the prior year.
How do insurance premiums go down?
We're out since March.
Well, I would like to think that we had fewer work comp claims.
Well, that's yeah, right.
Theoretically, I would like to say that. From a practical standpoint,
I
I didn't really try.
realize that was an option.
In general, you know, if they don't have any big catastrophes like statewide or anything like that, everybody's can go down and goes down some. You know, if you don't have any big tornadoes or big losses, if they don't have big losses.
Yeah, well, we had a couple big losses.
I'm talking not just you, but I'm talking everybody.
Oh, okay.
Part of that's a
Okay,
shared.
across the industry.
Part of it's a
Industry-wide.
shared.
Oh,
I mean, we help pay up for everybody's.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get penalized for having claims, but you also get penalized for other people having
Everybody else's
claims
claims too, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, almost lost track of where I was going there, but yeah, so exciting. Page 24. Page 24, 25, and 26 are budget comparisons. I'm not going to dwell on those much. You'll notice at the top of those, they say unaudited right there near the top. The budget column, The original budget and the revised budget are unaudited. The actual columns are audited numbers. We do not audit the budget. We audit the financial statements, but not the budget. That's why it says unaudited at the top. And you'll notice that on the next 2 pages also. This is, you have one budget comparison for the general fund, one for the teachers fund, and one for the capital projects fund. Enough on the budgets. Page 28. Schedule revenue by source tells you what your components of revenue are. I'm going to be looking at the total column on the right only. You'll notice it's broken down into sections. One's called local, one called county, state, federal. Up in the local section, local property taxes, $2,115,000 was up $135,000. 16% of your total income is property taxes. Sales tax, $1,412,000 was down $4,000. Food service at $66,000 was down $38,000. Gifts down below at $85,000 was down $67,000. Total local $4,057,000 down $78,000. 31% of your income is from local sources. Down in the county section, total county $320,000 was down $8,000. It's 2% of your total income. State section, basic formula state money, $6,008,000 was down $218,000. That one in itself is 47% of your income. Transportation at $102,000 was down $11,000. Basic formula classroom trust fund money at $395,000 was down $116,000. Career education was up $29,000. Total state, $6,684,000, down $314,000. 52% of your total income is state sources. Down in the federal section, you see CARES ESSER fund, that's new. That's some COVID money, $340,000. School lunch program money at $254,000 was down $113,000. School breakfast at $81,000 was down $28,000. Those are, the reason that those would be down, of course, is when you don't have school for the last 3 months of the year. You're not serving those meals. The fresh fruits and vegetables program down below at $19,000 is also new. Department of Health food service program at $55,000 was up $25,000. I think you guys were providing meals to the Department of Health throughout the last 3 months when you weren't in school. This being funded through the Department of Health. Federal, $1,693,000, up $221,000, 13%. The CARES money came through and provided funding. Down below that, received from other districts, that's the tuition, $145,000, was up $27,000 the previous year. Revenue in total, $12,901,000, down $177,000, 1.35%. One page further tells you about how your expenses did. I'm going to be looking at the total column on the right again. Salaries, $7,922,000 was down $50,000. 60% of your expenses. Employee
You
benefits.
said it was 60%?
60%. Employee benefits, $2,236,000 was up $16,000. 17% of your expenses.
So between employee salaries and benefits, it's 77% of our expenses, right?
That's correct. Purchase services, $768,000 was up $1,500. That's 6% of your expenses. Supplies, $1,551,000 was up $19,000, 12% of your expenses. Capital outlay, $425,000 was down $17,000, 3% of your expenses. Other objects, $372,000, that's your principal and interest you pay on your debt, was up $4,000. That's also 3% of your expenses. In total, $13,274,000, down $27,000, less than 1%. So when you look at the grand scheme of things, expenses change very little and revenues change very little. It's pretty much pretty close to the same. Page 30. Cost of transport for your students. Far column on the right, total allowable cost, $707,000, down $40,000. The two that were the ones that were down significantly was depreciation was down $17,000 and supplies it's down $22,000. Supplies would be down $22,000 because you didn't run for 3 months because fuels and supplies. Depreciation would be down because your bus fleet's 1 year older. Things are falling off. Not things are falling off your buses. Buses are falling off the depreciation schedule.
Yeah.
They depreciate for 5 years. Once they're over 5 years old, they fall off in your depreciation. Down below, you see you paid $58,000 in principal on your bus lease purchase. You paid $2,600 in interest. The state DESE provided you with $102,000 to fund that $707,000 it cost. They provide $102,000. Average cost per mile is $2.90 per mile that you drove. Your average yearly cost per student transport is $857 a year. $290, is significantly lower than Greenfield was the other night. They were close to $6. Your average yearly cost at $857 is significantly lower than Greenfield was also. Well, they were at $1,200.
When you say $2.90 a mile, is that for allowable miles
That's
or
all miles.
all
All
miles?
miles. When that bus leaves, it's $2.90 a mile. Page 32. 32 is the auditor's report on state requirements. Basically, it's our report on your budget compliance and your pupil attendance and transportation systems. Top section tells you what the report's over. Middle section tells you about manager's responsibility for complying, and the next section tells you about the auditor's responsibility in auditing it. And the opinion paragraph is the last paragraph on that page, and then very short it says that your budget procedures were in compliance and your pupil attendance and transportation systems are functioning properly. Page 34, a little on attendance. Middle of the page, average daily attendance. Total average daily attendance, 1,181 was down 30 from the previous year, 2.5%. That number is instrumental and basic formula revenue, your largest chunk of revenue. Down below that, free and reduced price lunch, 739 was down 70 from the previous year, or 8.67%. That number is important in Title I funding and school lunch and breakfast reimbursement. Page 37, a little on transportation. You'll notice about halfway down it says eligible ADT. That's the average number of students you transported on a daily basis that you received state aid on, or you received transportation aid on. 730 were eligible and 94.5 were ineligible. The ineligible ones would be those town students that live less than a mile from school. Your transportation system operated 243,476 miles last year. The eligible miles is 152,725, and the ineligible was 90,751. Ineligible miles are going to ball games, going to FFA conventions, maintenance, going to get the bus worked on, and summer school routes if you have summer school routes. Page 38 is the last of the auditor's report. Anytime you spend more than $750,000 in federal funds during the year, you have to have what's called a single audit, and that means we have to audit compliance with certain programs of your federal programs to make sure that you complied with them, and this is a report that we issued. Top section tells you it's a report. This is a report on compliance for each major federal program. Second section tells you about the management's responsibility. Third section tells you about the auditor's responsibility. And if you flip the page, near the top up there, it says opinion on each major federal program. It says, in our opinion, Willow Springs School District complied in all material respects with the types of compliance requirements that could have a direct and material effect on the major federal programs for the fiscal year ended. So, in essence, what we're saying is, your major federal programs were Title I and special education. That was what we audited as major programs. And typically, Title I and special education, or Title I and your food service are the ones that's going to get hit most regular. This next year, it'll probably be some of this CARES money that will get hit. Because they're the larger ones by far. And we have to cover 40% of your total federal expenses. And if you don't have anything that's over $750,000, then we can get to pick and choose which ones. And like I say, we're normally always going to hit Title I, special education. Special education is a combination of several different ones, or food service. But with the CARES money, you're throwing a new wrench in it this year. Second part of that report right there, it's a report on internal control over compliance. The important part of that is the next to last sentence and the next to last paragraph on that same page. That was page 39. It says, we did not identify any deficiencies in internal control over compliance we considered to be material weaknesses. So we did not find problems in federal programs. Page 41. Page 41, that's the federal money that you spent. That's your schedule of federal expenditures. In total, you spent $1,691,000 in federal money. You'll notice over there, school lunch money, $254,000, school breakfast money, $81,000, Title I, $494,000, CARES, $340,000, special education Part B, $284,000. That's just some of the larger ones. That's your federal money that you spent last year. Hey, that says done on the bottom of this page here.
Hey, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Kenny, on the CARES money that we received, not necessarily the ESSER money, but the county CARES money that we received, because we did receive a chunk of money from the county.
Right.
Will that be audited as part of this audit next year, or will it be audited through the county?
No, it'll be audited. We will have to audit your compliance with it, and then you provide that information you'll provide a copy of your report to the county whenever they'll have to have it, since you're basically a sub-recipient of that money. It was dealt out to them, and then they dealt it on out to you.
Gotcha.
Yep. Further questions? Gonna do all right, man?
We did, thank you. We were sweating a little bit.
Thanks for having me over.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Careful going home.
If it's as good as it was coming over, it'll be great.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Kenny, appreciate it.
Kenny, is that your own?
That's her credit card almost.
Do not leave that.
When we were over here doing the audit, the other auditor, the other CPA, she lost her credit card. Man, he found it. Thanks again, guys.
There, but that's what we do. Doing that.
I just had that.
And then you, yeah, it's supposed to go up every year.
Leave now.
Oh, you got choked up on
Oh, yeah.
It's not super.
Oh, yeah, it's a super spreader. It's a super staple.
You're one of those rare ones that caught
You ready to move on?
Yes. Hey, Brett, you still there?
Still here.
All right.
Do you not want to brag about us a little bit before we move on?
Right. I will tell you this.
Okay.
This was a really unusual year at the superintendent's office. I'm going to brag on this in a while. But, you know, if you think about it, we had to deal with some very unusual things this year, this fiscal year. Besides the fact that we changed software systems in March of the fiscal year that was just audited. And we changed bookkeepers halfway through the fiscal year that's just audited. And then, of course, COVID hits in March, and it's almost like the perfect storm. So I feel really good about the audit, and a lot of that, too, is a credit to Mandy and Jamie. And Jamie just figured it out. She's doing pretty good with it. And so I feel pretty good about the overall the audit. I think it went pretty well. I feel really good about the fact that our unrestricted reserve balance is going up. I mean, that's a really good thing, given what we don't know what we're going to be facing in the next year or so, you know, with the economy and everything else. Right now, they're saying that the economy's turned around at the state level. Revenues are coming in fairly high, and so talk going superintendent circles out there is that we're kind of hoping that Governor Parsons will reinstate the withholdings that he pulled earlier in the fiscal year. And so that too will help us as far as the revenue for this fiscal year. But no, all in all, it turned out really well. So
Good.
It was good. Did I do good?
It was long. I want to get out of here. So
Okay, you don't want me to keep going?
You can send an email later.
All right, there you go.
Well, let's move on to filing dates for school board election.
Yeah, it's somewhat of a formality. It's hard to believe that we're already talking about filing for a school board election. And as you know, we were delayed last year with our school board election from April till June. And so now here we are again. But basically, the board, by board policy, the board needs to establish the filing dates and the window for filing. We have a policy in place. It has to be before the 16th Tuesday preceding the election. And then it goes up until, I read through, I think the 10th Tuesday prior to the election would be the back side of the window. So basically, the school board candidate filing would open on Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. And then the last day to sign up would be January 19th, 2021, with election day, I believe, on April 3rd, I believe, or it's the first week in April.
Okay.
And so it just basically takes a motion from the board to be able to do that. The board members up for re-election this year are Farrell Graves and Matt Gum. And so unless there's any discussion, as I said, it's a formality. We do this every year, so.
All right.
Okay.
Anybody got any questions on that? Very good. Let's move on. FEMA pre-disaster mitigation safe room application?
Yes, that's a mouthful. I was contacted a few weeks ago by SAP Design. SAP Design is an architectural firm that we utilized about a year ago when we took our first opportunity, our chance at applying for a FEMA Safe Room grant. And we already have a FEMA Safe Room, but our current FEMA Safe Room really accommodates only our middle school and high school kids. And even then, they're packed in like stuffed sardines. So right now, our elementary kids, they were sheltering, I think, in the hallways. Now they're kind of doing internal classrooms, which is better. But the best option would be to have another storm shelter for them. So we did that application last year. At that point, it's a 75-25 grant, in which the case if we were funded, FEMA would have paid for 75% of the cost of that grant. We would pay for 25% of the cost of it. It didn't get funded. I think there were several communities around us who received funding for that. But they contacted me and said the window's now open again, and we were eligible to resubmit our application again. And this time, because we meet the definition of an impoverished community, it would be a 90%, 10% split. So if we were funded, then the FEMA would pay for 90% of the cost of that building, and then local revenue or local funds would pay for the other 10%. This is just the shell. It's just the FEMA building. If we want to do any enhancements to it, last time we talked about turning it into a gym, another practice facility, maybe a weight room, put the conditioning room there as opposed to where it is right now. The enhancements would be beyond the cost of this project, all right? Now, the estimate...
They got pretty costly pretty quick.
Oh, they did. I mean, just the cost of the building itself, the shell, is estimated at $2,985,000.
Wasn't this 10,000 square foot, you guys? We were talking about last time.
Yeah, it's probably about the size. It was bigger than the Bears Den. So, and I don't know what the actual size of the Bears, but it was actually larger than the Bears Den. And it's probably about right because it's priced at $2-something per foot, I would imagine, square foot. Out of that amount, if it is funded, then we would be responsible for $298,000, $298,500 out of the $2.9 million building, and they would pay the rest of it. It's one of those situations that it's almost too good to pass up, especially when 90% of the cost of that building can be paid for with federal dollars. It would be located out on the playground pad, just to the outside of between the elementary school and Mumford Gym. We're still thinking about possibly relocating the conditioning room there, putting in some type of practice facility there. Because right now, as far as practice facilities are concerned, we're really strapped as far as right now. I think we're using the elementary school gym too, some, I think, even. So it's very, very difficult with the middle school kids practicing after school every day to find adequate practice space. Plus, the most important thing is we need more shelter, storm shelter space, and so that's the primary reason for doing this. The process would be is that if the board approves the application and the match resolution, I have a resolution here, so when we get to that, we probably ought to just read the resolution, and then the board will need to just make a motion and take action on that resolution. Then you would have to sign off on that, and then I would be the designated representative for the school district to work with SEMA and FEMA on this project moving forward. Timeline, the deadline for the application is December 1st, but the window of funding isn't going to be until probably next September sometime. So we're probably about, 10 months out before we're going to find out for sure if it's even going to be funded. And so that's kind of the process. So we're looking at anywhere from 10 months to about 18 months as far as the actual timeline, if it's funded and actually starting the work and building and getting the project started and all that. Questions about that? They did say that your odds are much better the second time around, especially they've already had an opportunity to view your application once. They said oftentimes school districts, they don't get funded the first time, and the second time they tend to get funded. So I think for the bargain of 90% funded by FEMA and 10% by us, it would behoove us to at least make application and attempt to get those dollars. Questions about any of that? No? Okay. And with that then, I'll go ahead and we're not out on the action items yet, but I'll just, whoever wants to read this can read it when we get to that point. Just the top part and kind of go from there. That's all I have on that unless there's questions.
Nope. All right. Any comments from our guests tonight? Nobody? Good. Well, not good, but okay.
Figured you'd follow Kenny out.
We'll move on to items for action. We went over our audit a minute ago. A motion be in order to approve the FY20 audit as presented by Kenny Thomas.
So moved.
Adam, and a second.
Second.
Matt, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And opposed? Good job, Coach Charlie. All right, we just went over our filing dates for school board. Motion be in order to set the filing dates for the upcoming school board election as presented.
So moved.
By Mac, and a second.
Second.
By Adam. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good.
And if somebody wants to read that resolution, it's just the top part of it. Whoever wants to do it. Mandy, you want to do it?
No.
Much of it do you not need to read.
Just down to, therefore the subgrantee agrees, just read down that last sentence, and then she can fill in the rest.
Local match resolution for the pre-disaster mitigation grant program. Whereas Willow Springs R4 School District, herein called the subgrantee, County of Howell, has made application through the Missouri State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for funding from the Pre-Disaster Mitigation Grant Program in the amount of $2,985,000 for the total project cost. And whereas the subgrantee recognizes the fact that this grant is based on a cost-share basis with the federal share not exceeding 90% and the non-federal share being a minimum of 10% of the total project cost. The minimum 10% non-federal share can be either cash or in-kind match. And therefore, the sub-guarantee agrees to provide and make available up to $298,500 of non-federal funds to be used to meet the minimum 10% match requirement for this mitigation grant application. Sure. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve that as presented?
I'll make that motion.
By Matt. And a second?
I'll say.
By Adam. Is there any discussion on that?
And right now, we're just talking to Shell.
Correct. That's all, yeah.
And if it is funded, then it still comes back to the board because the board has to accept those funds.
Right.
Even those.
No discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Very well. Anything else for open session tonight?
No.
I receive a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Adam, and a second
Second.
by Matt. Any discussion? Do that by roll call?
Aye.
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 And aye. Very good.
Oh, that.
Sound like Mandy.
Is that the dog?
Go ahead, turn on, lights come on. Thank you all. Matt, have a grand evening.
Date on it. Well, I just put in the date, so I just need to sign off on that.
I'll be right back.
Doesn't matter where they sign, right?
No, just one of them.
Okay, you guys just need to sign in where it is.
Our real name?
Pass it around.
now we can adjourn.
All right, back in the open session. Is there anything else for open session tonight?
Nope.
Receive a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Thank you. Turn the line screen.
I got your candy bar, Brent.